Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on us.
Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on us.
King tides have come to the California coast, causing flooding, dangerous rip currents, and other dramatic weather conditions. King tides offer us a glimpse into climate change. As global temperatures rise, the oceans warm slightly and expand, ice caps and glaciers melt, and more precipitation falls as rain rather than snow. This causes sea levels to rise. We are just beginning to see the impact of high tides in coastal communities now. Scientists tell us the real impact will come in 100 years. Scientists also say that we cannot wait 100 years before we make some difficult decisions. Some basic decisions about the value of our land in some coastal areas, ways to protect wildlife, and the maintenance of our shorelines. With the upcoming United Nations Conference on Climate Change, just within a few days, we have the opportunity to see the way the planet on our Earth is changing and the decisions we must make. Scientists alert us to some of the key decisions we have to make, and there's no doubt that changes are underway. In addition to scientists, there are people of a variety of faith traditions who are constantly on alert and believe in the imminent nature of apocalyptic accounts. These accounts of heaven and earth say it will all pass away and the world will come to an end. People respond to these accounts in a variety of ways. Generally, most ignore apocalyptic accounts. These accounts have been around for centuries and life just seems to continue. As a result of these accounts, some become quickly associated with fictional accounts that are easily to ignore. It might be why, in part, so many still ignore scientists and their concerns over climate change. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Our gospel seems to acknowledge the changes that are constantly taking place all around us. We're able to note the way change takes place in our bodies too. More than a few times, I have been aware of the way a small splinter in my finger eventually goes away as old skin is replaced by new skin. If our bodies undergo these almost invisible changes, imagine the changes in the earth all around us every day. These changes to the earth, to our bodies, and to all creation are significant and matter. The gospel acknowledges that these changes are important. The gospel also acknowledges that these significant changes are secondary to God's words. Today is Advent 1. And for the next 4 weeks, we prepare ourselves for the coming of Christ. On Christmas, we will hear the way the Word became flesh. You know the words from John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. He was with God in the beginning. As vital as heaven and earth are to the vitality of our life, God is greater. The gospel is grounded in the fullness of our earthly reality and at the same time is not dependent on the fragility of the earth. The passing of the earth is in part scary and indeed unknown, but the presence of God is not fragile and not unreliable. Every Advent leads to Christmas. Every Lent leads to Easter morning. New birth, death, resurrection are certain for us. Certain. Advent ought then to be a time when we celebrate our confidence in the constant reality of God. With each passing week of Advent, we grow in the light of Christ. The world becomes brighter as we approach Christ coming into the world anew. Throughout the church year, we follow the gospel account of Christ from beginning to end in new life in resurrection. We must not confuse the accounts we read with the reality of our lives. God is not coming on Christmas morning. God is already among us. We recall the story of God as a way to renew our resolve to live in hope, joy, and change constantly. During Lent, the custom and tradition for some is to offer something up in preparation for Easter. Some give up chocolate, some Facebook, and some an annoying practice to their spouses. The idea about giving something up is to increase awareness on new life in resurrection. Giving up things and sacrifices about purification of ourselves to better hold the light of God that comes in resurrection. During Advent, we do not have quite similar Christian traditions. Some families and congregations have an Advent wreath to mark the days for the coming of Christ. Often clergy at this time of year talk about the competition between the spiritual side of Advent and the secular Christmas shopping. Perhaps, though, there need not be any competition. Perhaps between the secular and the spiritual is God among us. I love this time of year with the lights strung across our cities and neighborhoods. I love the music on the radios and in the stores. I love the emphasis of gifts for another. Perhaps rather than fussing over the commercial nature of Christmas, we could reflect that as glorious as these ornaments are of the season, how much greater is the presence of God. Rather than seeing the ornaments of the commercial season as obstacles to the light of Christ in the newborn King, we could see all as part of our pathway to Christ. The gospel says to us that all is passing, heaven and earth and all that earth contains, but God is not passing away from us. As glorious and as much joy as the lights, music, and gifts of the season brings us, God's glory brings an endless joy that is eternal. Our entire earthly life and Advent is a preliminary indoctrination into the joys of eternal life with God. The good news of today's gospel is that God is with us and nothing can separate us from the love of God. Let us live without fear and trust in the power of our loving God, who sent his only Son to live among us, to give all hope of eternal life. Confident in the hope of eternal life, we are able to take on every human challenge with the help of God. We are capable of mercy, love, and justice. God bless you.